Ага. Ты не лупай.
I hope with desperate sincerity that future generations, maybe in like a couple of decades' time, are able to look back on the events of what we can only describe as Donald Trump's Iraq War 2.0 and see it with some clarity and ask the very simple question, is the West's loyalty to Israel worth all of this nonsense? Like, genuinely, all of this, every iota, every factor of this is defined by America's unquestioning slop to Israel. Like, genuinely. Like, if you want to think about it, if you want to think about the entire situation with Iran, how it has been for decades, who is it who every, 5 minutes for the last 30 years has been telling us that Iran is a quarter of an hour away from developing a fully functional nuclear weapon that is going to reach your house, and your house specifically? It's been Benjamin Netanyahu. It's been the Israel lobby. It's been Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israel lobby saying that every single time because they want war with Iran. Why does Israel want war with Iran? They want war with Iran because they view any and all opposition to Zionism as something that needs to be utterly eliminated, right? There are even stirs that the next thing that Israel is going to get upset about is the existence of Turkey and the Egyptian military, even though Egypt is one of the biggest recipients of US aid in return for its acceptance of Israel. So all of this, the entire American connection to the Middle East, the entire destabilization project is the result of America appeasing Israel and creating a space where Israel is the only stable country in the Middle East, effectively speaking, right? All of this is for a tiny little ethnostate the size of New Jersey, full of people from Eastern Europe, who then flee back to Europe the moment the consequences of the policies that they support come home to roost, and there are actual consequences for where they are in Israel, in the land that they've stolen. So, genuinely, that is my prayer, that future generations are able to identify the simple reality that this new war with Iran is exactly the result of America's undying, unending loyalty to Zionism. Insane evangelical Christians who seem to think that if you support this government in the Middle East that is obsessed with trucking people in to steal land from Palestinians, that it's going to bring Jesus back in a couple of years' time, maybe, but also maybe not, and will actually blow up all of the people who are in that place as well. So it's actually not in the interest of Israel to be connected to Christian Zionism. But ultimately, that's what you need to remember, that all of this, including Britain, France, and Germany's now being brought into the conflict, all of this is the result of the West's inability to separate itself from Israel and from political Zionism. Genuinely, it is wild that a little plot of land the size of New Jersey, run by a 75-year-old psychopath with the worst comb-over you've ever seen, that is genuinely the source of 60% of the problems in the world right now. It's wild. It is, and there's no arguing against it. Like, even if you want to go all the way back to Iraq, right? Go all the way back to the Iraq War, 2003-ish, right? Why is it that there's so much beef against an expansionist Iraq? Obviously, it was territorial sovereignty and stuff, but the reason why that instability needed to be done is because it was to make sure that Israel would stay safe. Because Saddam Hussein also had beef with Israel. Iraq and Iran are the same in that sense. They're different in many, many ways. But like, anytime a powerful enough entity in the region that is not Israel emerges, it becomes the project of the West to undermine that, to take that down, to eliminate that, to destabilize that, to make it so that it never functions properly again, so that Israel can feel safe. That is fundamentally the root of essentially the entire story of the modern Middle East, the last 50 years or so. Probably more than that. But like, genuinely, that is how this works, right? All of this is being done for Israel. In fact, they were in the middle of peace talks. My guy. In the middle of negotiations. And Iran was literally like, we were just talking and we were getting somewhere. And then Israel and the US launched preemptive. So now, America's talking about, we need to defend ourselves from Iran. We defend yourself from what? It was a preemptive strike. Preemptive means that you struck them before, first, because you thought they were going to strike you. But by the sounds of it, Iran wasn't going to strike anyone. So this all peace talks were interrupted by those strikes because Israel felt unsafe. And therefore, if Israel feels unsafe, then the entire West needs to mobilize to make sure that this little Nepo baby New Jersey ethnostate feels safe. Even though it's, the result of a settler colonial project that's completely out of date in its ideology. And it is regularly, trucking in people from Brooklyn and stuff and then arming them and funding them going out into the West Bank and stealing people's land. Or buying up the land from Palestinians who have had, been turfed off their homes that they've been living in for hundreds of years, their families. All of that is done so that can continue. All of this stuff in the Middle East is being done so that political Zionism as a project can continue. It's not going to work out for Trump. That's the thing. It doesn't work out for anyone. This doesn't work out for Iran. This doesn't work out for the United States. It doesn't work out for any of the Western allies. It's not in our interest. We do not have any beef with with Iran outside of in connection to the West's loyalty to Israel. If Israel is not in the equation, if you take Israel out of it as a political factor, there is no real reason for anyone to have beef with Iran. It's not an enormously rich country. It's not a massive producer of all that much. It's got some oil. We get oil in other places. It's a pretty irrelevant country, if not for the fact that it makes Israel feel unsafe. Therefore, we need to dedicate all of our resources and our entire USI into destabilizing and undermining and attacking them. I'm not defending the Iranian regime, right? Different conversation entirely. But this entire thing, this new forever war that has essentially been started, is because of the West's unyielding loyalty to Israel that it cannot let go of. That it will take a generation to shed now that it's been identified by mainstream politics. We're not cooked. I don't believe in this whole thing of we're cooked, it's so over, whatever, right? I'm a great believer that things will just continue, right? The life finds a way. But this entire mess is the result of that tiny little ethno-state in the Middle East that sterilizes Ethiopian women who come over to settle there because they want their population to stay as white as possible because it allows them to better appeal to the evangelical Republicans, and who are known to have committed countless war crimes and have been found guilty of that word beginning with G by the UN. I can't say that word obviously, but genuinely, that's the vibe. That is the reason for this war, in the same way it was the reason for Iraq. It is heartbreaking to an extent to see that 20 years on plus from Iraq, we're just going to war in the same region for the exact same reasons. Never a dull moment. Anyway, I just had to get that off my chest. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Enjoyed is the wrong word, but like and subscribe and all of that nonsense. Ciao, ciao.